got a Prado here, of course, funnily enough, and there's a couple of things I want to show you. A little bit of feedback on a little oil leak repair is one of them. It's not really a repair, but we're going to talk about it in detail. In a bit of detail. We mentioned it in other videos, but I thought while we're at it, we're also going to do an inspection. It's not here for a service. The client, he services his own vehicle, looks after it. Maybe there's a couple of things that are missed that we're going to mention to him, which is good to mention to you if you're doing your own. And we're just going to do the usual sorts of checks so that you get more familiar with this. So starting from the back, let's just back it up a little bit. There's a bit of mud, so there's a bit of cleaning that needs to be done. If you go and play in the mud, stick the hose up there. We're going to do another video on how the best, I think we've done it before. We've got how to wash the engine type thing videos, and we've also I've talked about cleaning and stuff like that, and there's going to be more of these sorts of videos on our touring channel, so make sure you're on there as well. The ones to do with the touring side, the cleaning, if it's to do with touring more than mechanical, you know, cleaning might sort of end up on that channel, so you don't want to miss out. 4 Before Touring Australia, subscribe on that one as well. Okay, so there's a bit of mud around. Now when I see that, I just want to grab this diff breather, just give it a, make sure it twists and it just moves up and down a little bit. That should mean it's all working okay, because it can get blocked up and then it could cause an oil leak for you, etc. And not obviously doing its job, what it's designed to be there for. So have a quick look at the brakes like we usually do. So we're just going to try, I'm going to try and sneak this in. There you go. How good's that? Right, you can see how much meat's there. That's the disc rotor that's moving, right? And then you've got the meat of the pad, and then you've got the backing plate, right? Plenty of meat left there. A little bit harder to see like this on an angle, but it's a bit hard for the camera to see, not my eye. So just having a quick look at the brakes. Tyres are getting down. Now this is a good point about the tyres. They've been wearing a little bit on the inside edges, so we'll look more at the other tyres to see what's going on there, because I can see a bit of a camber where there's more wear at this side than on the outside in the middle actually. So very interesting. It's looked like an old Dado 1600. No, not quite that bad, but is this one the same? It's similar as well, yeah. A bit more meat on the outside, in the middle, and the inside. So they probably come off the front and there's an issue with a wheel alignment, I'd say, because there's no other way that can really happen on this vehicle based on averages. So brake pads again, have a quick look at the brake pads at this side as well. We're not going to go too much into detail. We've shown you that in other videos. Shockers, they're not leaking. They're bloody originals though, so obviously it needs suspension, this vehicle. Sitting on original suspension still. I'll mention it's done nearly 300,000 Ks, so well and truly overdue for suspension. When I say suspension, you don't have to lift it, you don't have to change the springs. Springs are forever unless you're not happy with the height or the ride that's coming from those springs. But your shockers here, they're your dampeners. They wear and tear like your tyres and your brakes, you need to change them. Okay, we've mentioned in other videos how often. The other thing I've noticed, just having a quick look here, this slip joint looks quite dry as well. You need to lube that. It's meant to be each service, but you know, I've got some variables on that, more or less. This one looks like it's been over lubed at some point. A bit of grease up there is all right, I don't mind. But that's looking, what do you reckon? Looks a bit dry, doesn't it? Looks like, you know, it needs a bit of grease.
Yeah, it's dry.
I reckon, yeah. So we're gonna put some lube on the driveline. Now, a little bit of feedback on this oil leak. And some people, you know, thanks for the feedback telling us, you know, what's in there and whatever. Obviously, putting this sealant, we didn't do this, but putting this isn't going to fix the oil leak, but it's going to hide the oil leak. And sorry if I wasn't clear in the other videos where I've mentioned it, but obviously the transmission is back here, right? And there's going to be a seal on the back of the transmission. The transfer case is here. There's a seal on the front of the transfer case like there is on the rear. This one you can see, right? Now, like there's one on the front, this one in here, well, you can't exactly see, but it's in there. Just like there's those two seals, there's a similar one inside on the front of the transfer case. If it's got a and this is what happens, this is a 1 in 10 vehicles, you'll see a bit of a sweat around here, you might even see a bit of oil sitting here. In my opinion, it is not worth at that point doing all the work pulling this transfer case out to change the seal, but you can if you like. And you could pay someone to do that if you like. I'm just trying to give you the value for money solutions. And what we've done for people is similar to this before, very similar to this. It almost looks like a job I could have done, but you know, I'm going to say, no, I would have done it neater and better than that. But no, it's a pretty good job. The owner did this himself, I think. I'm pretty sure, but he might have copied one of my videos because he's gone about as far with it as what I would have. And obviously what you're doing, it's that small, this leak or weep. We're talking about probably less than 10 mil of oil a year, probably less than 5. It could be, you know, just like a few millimeters of oil, and it's enough to just come out that crack and just make things untidy, right? See back here, this is different. This has got oil in it, right? That's why there's sealant there. If that leaks, then same sort of fix really, but you're actually sealing up an area where there is oil. Here, there's not meant to be oil. Okay, so big deal, whatever, quick solution. You give it a good clean up the surface, and this is what he's done. I mentioned it. He had a crack and he did it himself. Good work. I'm pretty happy with that. There's no oil there, so it's neat and tidy, and you know that's what it is. Now, if it was pretty bad and it really filled up and got up to there, it's just not going to happen, guys. We've seen hundreds and thousands of these cars, and we've never seen one leaking that badly. And if it is that bad, then obviously then you're going to change it, and it's probably going to penetrate through the RTV eventually anyway. Whatever. At each service, take your filler plug off, check your oil level to make sure everything's right. Just put your small finger in. As long as you can not oil off the thread, you want to make sure your finger's going in clear of the thread and just touch the oil. And as long as you get oil on your finger there, that's at a decent level. So I just want to show you some feedback on that. These slip joints, they should look a bit more like that. See how it's actually got some grease on it? When it slips back and forward, it's going to pull a bit of grease, so keep it lubricated. What else are we going to look at? I'm just looking through here. Okay, again, that mud, you can see all the mud, and that's been caked on the back end of the turbo there. It's all quite dirty. The front's got a bit of oil on it. It's not like the first time we've seen that again. It might be the 1 in 10 vehicles sort of thing where they have a bit of oil on them. That one's quite black for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because the oils didn't get as many oil changes and it's a bit black type thing. But quite often that will have oil on it, but it'll be a nice shiny alloy color and a little bit of oil on the bottom. There's some sealant there again, you know. Look, you can take it off and get it repaired if you like, but I'm just saying I've seen heaps of these, and the good news is lots of people don't want to spend money and don't want to repair things. So I'll sort of say, well, you know, I think it's going to be all right. So for years, if things have been all right, I'm just trying to say to you guys, it's not something to worry about. There's heaps of vehicles with that. They look just like that, right? Just get in there and have a bit of a closer look for you if we can, right? It's a bit, I don't know if that's going to show you much because it's black, right? So what I would do with this vehicle, if this was mine, I'd give it a good clean up. I'd get underneath, I'd spray, I'd get all that dirt and everything, scrubbing, spraying, degreasing. I'd want to see it clean. So then at the next service, or 5,000 Ks, 10,000, I'm going to check and have a look and see, you know, how bad it is. Now, I'm going to give you another little tip, which I may have not mentioned much in other videos. Kind of almost completely off topic, but very awesome information. You can see in the steering there that it's like a uni joint in the steering, right? Now, there's no way to lubricate that, guys. It's like, it is a uni joint. Of course, you can replace that section, I believe, from there up. And what I'm suggesting as a bit of prevention, if you get a lot of dirt, a lot of river crossings, a lot of dust, dirt and mud, some of that's going to penetrate into that joint and it can cause some problems. We've seen a vehicle with that recently. But what I've been doing for years on and off is you can put your hand up behind it. You grab a rag in your hand nice and flat and you stick your hand up. I'll give you a bit, sort of behind here like that, holding the rag. And from this side with your other hand, you spray some like spray grease through, trying to get into those joints in there, if you know what I mean. And now, not a lot of it's going to penetrate that well, but if you were to do that regularly, it may, even if a little bit's going to get in there, but it's also going to make a barrier to stop moisture and that getting in, if you know what I mean. So it's going to help protect the life of that uni joint there. It's not a big deal. We haven't seen big issues, just something that I've been doing that I thought I'd just share with you in case you want to be like that and do stuff like that. So you spray it, yeah, have your rag there, makes a bit of a mess, and you can just wipe all the excess off the outside again. You know, you don't need to leave it out over the top here or whatever. Just wipe it all off again when you're done. It's what's inside, in behind there, at least on and around those boots and stuff. And some of it will penetrate. Just like, you know, you see an oil leak, where the oil or the grease is, you notice the oil stain goes out from the grease, it like swells out. Well, same thing happens. If you've got spray grease sitting in around the inside of there, it's going to, some of the lubrication's going to get in there. Like I said, it's going to create that barrier. It may have dirt and dust stick to it, but the dirt and dust is on the outside. Better it's sticking there than it's sticking right in there with no protection instead of grease. So that's just a little thing that I've come up with over the years that I do, depending on the vehicle use, you know, stuff like that. Now we'll take a quick look at these bushes. We might have seen these ones before or not, or similar. They're going to look the same as all the other ones. Right, nearly 300,000 Ks. These arm bushes are not something to be concerned about before you've got a, I can give you my opinion right now. You can see the start of the crack up this end here, right? It's just starting from that end of the bush at nearly 300,000 Ks, right? This does a lot of highway Ks is my understanding, less bouncing around on speed humps. And you're probably going to see the same at this side there. See the crack starting at that side there? Just coming in a little bit. At this point or anywhere near it, in my opinion, is not the time to waste your money replacing these arms at this point. Just keep driving. What needs to be done on this vehicle? Good cleanup, and it needs some suspension, right? You can see old original suspension again. And again, I'll point out, look how good those lower eye bushes are. Just awesome, the genuine ones. What we don't like is these little uprights and the little welds. They can break, but it is very rare. Again, it's more if you're doing a lot of off-road or suspension space is not a good idea. That's why we won't go into that now though. No sweat on the steering rack boot. So just because one does it doesn't mean they all do. You can see, look, this one bone dry virtually both sides. And this is nearly 300,000 Ks. So just because you've got one at 100,000 and it's got a slight weep there, it doesn't mean they're all going to do it, and it doesn't mean it's going to get worse. In one video, I mentioned CVs and stuff like that. If I didn't go back to it and talk to it, it's not a problem. I'm not going to talk much about CVs because we don't see problems with them. These outer boots are really tough. Inner boots are good. Every now and then you might get a little hole in it. If you get a little hole in it, yeah, you might replace the boot if you get to it early, get a genuine boot or whatever. Or if it's done 300,000 or 400,000 Ks, you just buy a whole new shaft. There it is. You're looking at it, you know, from there to there, the whole thing, and you just put it in there. Bada bing, it's done, right? Have a look at this side again, nearly 300,000. Boots are good. There's nothing to worry about here. I'm going to have a look at the brakes. Have a bit of a look-see in here. See if we can get the camera in like the other one, eh? Let's see. Look at that, right? There's the rotor. There's the meat of the pad. See, I'm just moving the wheel to show you the rotor moving. I know it's not going to focus too well. You know how close we are. We're pretty lucky we even got it that good, I think. But yeah, so that's what you're looking at, right? You just got to make sure there's enough meat between the backing plate of the pad and the rotor itself. So hope I've given you some good feedback on this so far. I think we're around about done. Something else that I've seen, these boots on the transmission shift linkage, if you have a stiff selector, you know, park, reverse, neutral, drive, it can be off-roading, has punctured here somewhere, so you may need to replace the cable. A temporary fix or something you can try is, you can either pull the boot back, clean it up, spray some CRC against some spray grease type thing, work the cable in and out, back and forward, put the boot back on. You can fix the boot by just putting a dot of RTV over, clean it up first, and it just sticks like, you know what, to a shovel, and it seals up that hole, and it can fix the problem or make it within good enough to save you changing a whole cable. Obviously that cable goes all the way around, goes all the way around here and up into the vehicle, right, straight up there. So not too bad. I don't think I've replaced one. I've done a couple of repairs, very rare, but a couple little tips you get from watching because you're subscribed and because you watch till the end. Now with this, got a little bit of rubber there. That's a bit unusual for these, and it's probably been hit by something. Again, by not having that lift, you put the vehicle at risk if you're using it off-road. You can see this one, it obviously drags through a lot of grass. That's where all the paint's gone. You can see all the drag marks. Obviously it doesn't do rough tracks too much, but a little bit of damage there that may have been avoided by having safe suspension that's not 300,000 Ks old, and suspension that's, you know, given a bit more clearance so you don't damage the vehicle. My tip is this has probably been hit. You know, it's probably been hit by something from being a bit low. Anything else? Anything you can see, mate? What else? Oh, a little bit of damage on the rock spray possibly, or sticks. Again, driving through the paddocks. Again, you haven't got the lift. You're driving through the paddocks and the grass and whatever, going hunting or whatever, and there's sticks flicking up and they're going whack up into that fuel cooler. I don't think it's at risk of being punctured really. It's still going to work, so it's not a big deal. You could get under there with a screwdriver and carefully straighten up some of those fins. The idea is it cools the fuel, and it's still going to be at least 90% capacity like that, so not a big deal. Anything else? Yeah, I reckon that's about it. Yep, I reckon bada bing. You know, I'm just having a look around. Plenty of dirt. I can see, again, the paddock bashing dirt that needs to be cleaned out properly. So what are we going to spend money on here? What do you reckon, mate? If this was your car, what would you? Are you with me? Clean it up first. Clean it up first. Clean it. Put some suspension in it. Yep. get it up to save a bit of damage on the underbody, get some proper dampeners in so you're safe again, keeping your safety triangle, guys. I mentioned it before. Tyres, brakes, shockers. Tyres, how good are they? Brakes, and of course your shocker's job is to keep the wheel on the road, because the spring's a spring and it goes boing like that. These things is what controls the spring from bouncing too much and keeps the wheels in contact with the road. No good if that's not happening. We can quickly talk about, we can quickly mention again that fuel tank breather. Make sure that one's clean, just considering all the mud that's up there. That's something that you could possibly clean up every now and then, can cause some issues. You can just see the mud up there, right? Anyway, it's all good. You can have the mud. I'm just saying to look after the vehicle and to allow it better inspections to see what's wrong with it. Clean is best. It's not hard to stick the hose up there and just let all the dirt fall out. All this will come out. Anyway, guys, we're out of here. That's a bada boom, bada bing. If you haven't already, please subscribe, turn the bell on. That's inspecting the Prado and a bit of feedback on that oil leak repair. Well, it's not really, you know, the bodgy fix. All right, guys, see ya.